Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you here in the Trisis House. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. I'm honored to open the highest level panel, presidential panel, and as a chairperson, the head of Trisis Fund, it is my honor to welcome the President of Republic of Estonia, His Excellency Alara Karisa, the President of Republic of Latvia, His Excellency Egilsa Levitsa, the President of Republic of Poland, His Excellency Andrzej Duda, I want to also warmly welcome the former President, Her Excellency Kolinda Grabar-Kitarović, and the Prime Minister of Republic of Croatia, His Excellency Andrej Plenković. Okay, he will join later us. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great moment. It is the first time that we set up the Trisis House in Davos to speed up the awareness what is the Trisis and why the Trisis region is so important. But everything has started in 2015 in New York, when the President Kolinda Grabar-Kitarović and President Andrzej Duda set up the Trisis initiative. 2015. Since then, everything changed around the world. COVID crisis, war in Ukraine, the supply chain were broken, and we are witnesses the new chapter of the world for our society and our economy. The most important word that we repeat many times nowadays is security. And probably some years ago, we talked only about the cyber security. After Russian aggression in Ukraine, everybody understands what means energy security. And what is more important right now, what means food security. And when we see this Trisis region, why this investment that was the pillar to set up the Trisis region and Trisis initiative was to speed up the infrastructure needs, infrastructure gaps that we have in this region, in transportation, in energy and digital. Now it is not even a single question why we have to develop this region, especially in transportation, energy, and also in digital, because we are the closest neighbor to Ukraine. And how we want to support to Ukraine in this very tragic moment without enough infrastructure in transportation, how we want to deliver food, how we want to deliver weapons, and how we want to support in terms of energy. We need to invest especially in this region, in these three sectors. Three sectors: energy, transportation and digital. Along what we see in a report, we need to spend 600 billion euro, probably when we are the witnesses of the inflation and the rising interest rate, it is probably 650 billion euro that we have to spend nowadays. And from my perspective, what we did as a financial institution, we set up the small trigger, to be honest, the Trisis Fund, to encourage the international cooperation, to attract the private investors, how to speed up the investment in the Trisis region. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our common responsibility if we want to win and achieve peace in this region and Europe and in entire world. It has had a different dimension of responsibility. If we want to speed up, to develop this region, it is presidential responsibility, governmental responsibility, financial institution, business. Without the common responsibility, without the leverage, the public-private investment, it won't be possible, finally, to achieve a peace. Even it is sad, it is rather the optimistic, but because I believe in our cooperation, because the Three Seas region, it is a huge example, it is role model, as we talked with Madam Georgetta Moschbacher. It is role model how we can create the cooperation, international cooperation, and hand in hand to build future not only for us but also for our next generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beata. And let me second your thanks to everyone joining us here at Three Seas House, the first Three Seas House. This is my 25th year in Davos, and I'm not sure I've ever been here at a time of such geopolitical uncertainty together with geoeconomic uncertainty. And it's a moment in time that offers us great dangers but enormous opportunities, and that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. Ukraine is horrifying, tragic, but it's also a wake-up call, and I'm glad we're all here for that. I'm Fred Cameron, President and CEO of the Atlantic Council. It's an honor to welcome the presidents of Poland, Latvia, and Estonia, along with many other distinguished guests in the audience. It's the highlight, this session is, of the many seminars we're holding here at Three Seas House this week, just down the street from the Russia War Crimes House, which was normally the Russia House, and I think that's also a poignant reminder of why we're here. As you heard from Beata, this is a key project to accelerate the development of regional cross-border energy, transport, and digital infrastructure across the region between the Baltic, Black, and Adriatic Seas. The Atlantic Council wrote a paper in 2014 called the North-South Corridor. We've been wanting and supporting from the sidelines this initiative, and sometimes a little bit more than the sidelines. It's great to see President Duda and President Grabar-Kitarovic both here, who we worked with so closely in the early days of this, and also seeing Ambassador Georgette Mosbacher here as co-chair with General Jim Jones of our own Three Seas efforts. We've been focusing for a long time on the political and economic development of this region. We've doubled down recently as well, not only with the work of our Ukraine work. It's wonderful to see Paul Grod here from the Ukraine World Congress across the Atlantic Council, but we've relaunched and expanded our office in Poland last week, President Duda, and we're very proud to be there more than a dozen years, but now in a more intensive form. The need for Three Seas has never been greater. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has finally done away with an era of ambivalence and complacency among many in the West, and finally registered the recognition of just how important securing the eastern flank of the transatlantic will be. And I think with Sweden and Finland coming forward as NATO members, this will become even more clear. Three Seas is a key to this effort to security in the vital region, because that economy and investment is part of security. And let's not overlook the region's commercial potential. With growth rates leading the European Union, the region presents an economic opportunity to everyone. And that's not just my view that this Three Seas initiative is that important. European Commission, Germany, Greece, the United States, and organizations like the IMF have endorsed the Three Seas beyond the members of the Three Seas. Inside Three Seas, Poland, Latvia, and Estonia have played key roles in supporting and furthering the initiative. Both Presidents Duda and Levitsa have been steadfast supporters of the initiative, along with President Grabar-Kitarovic, who is now on our International Advisory Board at the Atlantic Council, and President Karisa has already taken a leading voice on the 3Cs as well. And we should note Latvia will host the upcoming 3C Summit and Business Forum in Riga in June. And Mr. President, we look forward to a successful and action-forcing summit. I'm going to pass to Georgette Mosbach. We just say a couple of words before we pass to my friend, another excellency, an excellency from the journalistic realm, but my friend Gideon Ruckman from the Financial Times, to moderate a conversation among these three wonderful presidents. Georgette, over to you.
I'm Georgette Mosbacher. I'm the former U.S. ambassador to Poland. What I'd like to do is a quote of a very renowned economist, Mariana Mazzucata. And she has also a best-selling author, Mission Economy, the Entrepreneurial State. And she writes, while infrastructure is of course important, it must be a part of a bigger vision. The point is not to simply dig ditches, but to steer those investments toward transformational growth. And that's what the 3Cs initiative is. It's a bigger vision that will drive transformational growth. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Madam Ambassador. And thanks to all of you for coming here. It's a particularly poignant moment, as we all know, given the war in Ukraine. It's been a pleasure to be involved with the 3Cs initiative before. I was moderated a session with President Dudy in Estonia last year, I think it was. But that was obviously before the war in Ukraine. So how I'd like to start is by asking the three presidents, talking about the 3Cs, how the war in Ukraine has kind of reframed their thinking about this initiative. President Duda, do you want to start with, I mean, obviously you've seen so many refugees stream into your country. Are you able to even concentrate on something relatively long-term like this?
Thank you very much. Distinguished Madam President, distinguished Presidents, Madam Ambassador, distinguished presidents of our banks and financial institutions and organizations, dear guests, dear friends, thank you very much for organizing this meeting, this event, this very, very interesting discussion. I have to tell you that I'm moved. I think that Madam President Kolinda Grabar-Kitarovic is also very moved that we are sitting here in a 3C's house in Davos. This is something, you know, this is like a dream that we are here and that this cooperation is so important now. It's so important now, as you said, because of the situation we have now in our part of Europe. I think that no one had expected that Russia will attack Ukraine, especially attack Ukraine in this scale, terrible scale. We will talk about the war in a few minutes, much more, I think, but now I can tell you that last week I had a distinguished guest in Poland. I hosted President of Slovenia, Borut Pahor. That was his probably last visit in Poland because now he finished his second term as a president of Slovenia, and I can say that we created 3Cs initiative together years ago, and he said, Andrzej, you know, look at the 3Cs initiative, how important this initiative appears now during the war in Ukraine, this cooperation between our countries, this new connections, especially if you think about the energy, yes, because all the initiatives started from the energy issues. So how important is this initiative, and how this situation strengthen this initiative and all the efforts? This summit we will have in Riga in a few weeks is a really important moment to talk about it, how to accelerate our cooperation in this matter. So I think that all presidents now, all presidents of our region, of the Three Seas initiative, of this part of Europe, most of them spend a lot of time behind the Iron Curtain. All we understand how important is this cooperation. All we understand how it is now important for our security and for the future of our nations and states to have these good connections between us. Of course, years ago we've been talking about for years we've been talking about the connections because of the touristic reasons, yes, of the business reasons, etc., etc. Now there is only one issue important: security. During the war in Ukraine, the security is the main topic, and if we think about the Three Seas initiative, we think especially about the energy security, about gas supplies to our part of Europe, about the oil supplies in our part of Europe, and this achievement. I think now about interconnectors between Poland and Lithuania, between Poland and Slovakia, between Poland and Czech Republic, and these connections between Croatia and Croatian LNG terminal on Kirk Island, yes, and Polish LNG terminal in Świnoujście. All these elements, all these networks of connections are crucial now for our security, and this few days ago, when Russians declared that they are stopping the supply, the direct gas supplies to Poland, and we said, okay, if you want to stop gas supplies, you can do that, because we just have these interconnectors. Yes, we had these interconnectors, and it works. So this is, I think, enough for my opening short statement. And so, Kolinda, I can tell you, thank you very much for this very, very important day. I remember very well in Krakow when we talked about the Three Seas initiative first time. That was, there are some days in history. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, President Duda. And President Levitsa, I mean, obviously there was always some geopolitical thinking behind the Three Seas initiative. Is that the underlying logic for it now seems even stronger than before, yeah?
Yes, because the region is not only geography, region is awareness of some common elements. And now, after the beginning of the war in Ukraine, we see in many sectors that our cooperation is crucial. It's crucial for Europe, it's crucial for us, and crucial for Ukraine. And first of all, it is we are 12 member states of the European Union, and exactly these member states of the European Union are member states which promotes the acceleration of Ukraine's accession to European Union. This is our duty, and we are doing so that I would say successful. We are the advocates of Ukraine within the European Union. Second, security. Security within NATO. We are quite all member states of NATO, and we are promoting the strengthening of the eastern flank of NATO. And that means eastern flank of NATO. That means the member states of Three Seas initiative. Quite all, not all, but quite all. So, and of course, we are, so at least 4 of Three Seas initiative states are also states which have common border with Ukraine, and which have the most refugees. First of all, Poland, who absorbed over 3 million refugees. That means 7 or 8% of the total population. And you remember 2015, the refugee crisis in Europe, and through some countries the refugees were going through, and there were between 1 and 1.5 million refugees at all. And that means in Poland alone there are 2 times more refugees as in this big refugee crisis in Europe, 2015, and Poland alone is managing that. And you remember this outcry in Europe about this refugee crisis? We have not so much, but we have also 30,000 refugees in Latvia registered, but it is in reality 40,000, a little bit more. This is 2% to 2.5% of the total population. And we don't see, as you said, refugee camps. Refugees are absorbed in our societies. We have managed that very easily. Also, it is not easily so for the state, but we have managed very effectively so that we don't have a real refugee problem in classical way. Of course, it is a big burden, financial burden for the state, and of course we are asking also the European Union to support us, but it is manageable if we want. So, and of course, third point what I wanted to mention, we also, these initiative states, or most of them, are the states which gives most support to Ukraine. Also in comparison with our GDP, but also in absolute numbers, and I can say that I'll say at least till April, Latvia gave in absolute numbers the same help to Ukraine as Germany. Now maybe it changed, but I think it is also we have some feeling some solidarity, and Ukraine can count of us. So that this region is very important politically, and also from the point of view of security in Europe. And of course, I will stop here because the economy, I will come later to the economy. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, President Karisa, picking up on that, we understand obviously the strain on the region, the geopolitical importance of this, but it's also a very practical initiative. Things need to be done. So what should be top of the agenda for the 3Cs initiative? What, if you could say, have a wish list for the next 3-5 years, what would you like to see done?
Thank you, and welcome everybody and my colleagues and dear friends over here. Yes, I don't have a historical memory because I'm a newcomer to this club, but when I became a president, I was told about this initiative. I was realized quite soon that this is a very important issue, and these connections from north to south and south to north are utmost important. So, and of course, unfortunately, this war triggered some ideas, and most people realize only now that it is important. And you see, we have difficulties even to get grain out of Ukraine to give humanitarian aid to developing countries. So we need these kind of connections, and I think these roads and railroads are most important in the very beginning, and of course energy as well. So I don't have a wish list, so we'll see how this conversation goes, and by the end of this conversation I might come up with some ideas.
Well, President Duda, you made the point you've been involved from the very start. So what's been achieved so far, and what needs to be achieved by the initiative?
I just said what was achieved. The achievement is this network of the interconnector, which takes us closer to the real energy independence in the matter of gas. This is one of the greatest achievements of 3Cs initiative. This is first element. But second element is that during that 7 years, yes, we've been seeing that this cooperation is very efficient because we have meetings, because we talked about we are talking about our problems. Yes, we are talking about our needs, and we try to find the solution for all these elements. For example, okay, energy, but also the transportation. Yes, if you look at Poland, for example, Via Carpatia. This is the motorway connecting Polish-Lithuanian border and Polish-Slovakian border. Now, practically all the motorways under construction. We decided to build this very important new corridor because we need to connect the Bulgarian, for example, ports on the shore of the Black Sea with Lithuanian port in Klaipėda. Yes, with Polish port in Gdańsk, Gdynia. Yes, and this is the best way for that connection. Second, benefit from that investment is very, very, very dynamic development of the whole regions in Poland, which are next to the Belarusian and Ukrainian border. Yes, that was the big area of Poland which received now the best possible connection with the rest of the country, because we are building also two motorways, motorway from the German border to the Belarusian border. Sorry, Belarusian border. Yes, it's part of this motorway is still under construction. Yes, and we have now A4. This is the border this is the motorway from German border to the Ukrainian border, and there are crossings of this road. So this is real guarantee of development of that areas of our country. So we have many benefits from that program, because I'm not sure that we would have made this decision to build this great motorway, very, very long, from Lithuanian border to the Slovakian border, if we have no guarantees that there will be connection also between our border with Slovakia and, for example, Budapest. Yes, but Slovak, they said, okay, we will build our motorway, and you will have this connection. This is 3C's initiative, and this is the real result of cooperation.
Thank you very much. That's a very vivid example of what's going on. President Levitsa, I mean, you said that also the countries in the 3Cs group are kind of an advocacy group for Ukraine within the EU, but it also does include Hungary, which is playing the opposite role. So how confident are you that you can keep the coherence of this group of nations?
Yes. Of course, as in all forums of cooperation, there are different opinions at the beginning, and also discussions in order to come to commonly accepted results. And of course, this specific position of Hungary, it's only one country in the European Union at all, not only in this group. But that not means that our politics is always synchronous. But I think that we have common interests, common political interests, common economical interests, and especially common security interests. And this is political part of the initiative. You have spoken about this, about the commercial and infrastructural part of the initiative, and there we have common interests, of course, of all member states. But I would stress that it is commercially driven, but politically inspired. This the motto of the initiative is, and both sides should be developed, and also the political side of the Three Seas initiative has become more important, especially after the events in Ukraine. And then we are working very close together in order to ensure our security and also to help Ukraine. Also, most of Three Seas initiative countries are also belongs to so-called Budapest 9 forum, and we will meet mid of June in order to cooperate also in security issues as member states of NATO. Also, the region means that there are ties, there are bonds, there are cooperation, and this is which is based on common interests. And to discover these common interests, it is also the task for the politics. And we have, in the last 7 years, have discovered and promoted our common interests. So, in the interest of each member state of the Three Seas initiative, I think I have spoken about the political part of the initiative. But there is also the commercial part, and as in the introduction was said, that the fund is the beginning, but the goal is to attract our region for private investors, American investors, as Madam Ambassador has done very much in order to attract American investors in our region, and European, of course, all European, but also we have interests from Japan, from Middle East, from United Kingdom. Also, this is a task and a sense of the Three Seas region.
Okay. So President Karisa, as we were just hearing, attracting investment from overseas is critical to this. Are you worried that the war in Ukraine, maybe unfairly, but will negatively affect the perception of the Baltic states, because suddenly you're kind of on the front line, and Estonia has this very glitzy, modern image, but do you see any hesitancy now amongst investors because of what's happening in Ukraine?
There might be some hesitance, but I guess it's temporary. So, and that's why these connections are important, and it's also important that these investments, they come from trusted partners. So this is, I think, it's even more important to see who actually invests. So there's many examples already in Europe that different countries actually invest to infrastructure, but it's not basically what Europe wants, but this is what these countries who actually invest, or partners who actually invest to certain countries and regions. So this is which we call trusted connectivity. So this is Estonian initiative, that these partners should share our values, and everything what we share should also come from the partners. And well, it all starts with the political will, but there are practical steps, and as we don't have enough money as a separate country, that means even if we put 5-6% of our GDP to infrastructure, even then it's still only 50% we are less than that the Western countries can invest. So that's why this initiative is extremely important. And if you basically look at this map, I mean, there's also Finland and Sweden. They are now joining also NATO. So this is something we could probably extend in future to this initiative. And there is another sea up there. So if you look at let's say, in 50 years perspective. I think this is also important.
So it could be the 4Cs by then.
Could be, yes.
Okay. So President Duda, we've talked a lot about what the states, the cooperation between the states of the 3Cs initiative. But one of the things that struck me at the Estonia summit was how strong the interest from the United States was. You had, senior people coming over from Washington to address it. How important is support from the outside world, from the US? And also I'm interested in, how do you see the attitude of the EU? It struck me that sometimes that Brussels kind of thinks it's a good thing, but not totally sure, because they may see it as a kind of an independent group within the EU that they don't kind of control.
Of course, it's very important because we all want to develop our countries. Yes, we all want to achieve in our countries this so-called European standard of living. Yes, and this is very important for us to have investments, also foreign investments in our countries, also American investments, because America is the greatest economy in the world, and this is obvious that American investments are very important. But I also would like to say to American investors that, hello, this is 112 million people. 112 million potential consumers, potential buyers. So think about it, because you can sell your goods, you can present your services, you can make business in our part of Europe. We are very dynamic. Our countries are full of very ambitious people. These people want to achieve this so-called European standard of living, and they are ready to work. They are ready to work very hard, and they work very hard. So this is really good place to think about development and about business.
Okay, thanks. Well, we're coming to a close. We've got about 5 minutes left. So I'd like to give you all an opportunity to take a step back and just to reflect on the moment in history that we're facing. Obviously, as you started our conversation by saying nobody envisaged the kind of violence that's being inflicted on Ukraine. So, yeah, I mean, we're how many weeks into this war? President Levitsa, all of your countries have had very unfortunate, entanglements with Russia. What is the mood now, and how do you see the future in the light of what's just happened?
I see that the security architecture in Europe will change, and it is decisive in the NATO summit end of June, because in NATO there would be adopted a new defense strategy. And of course, we are, as one member state of NATO, we are giving security to other member states, and we are getting security from also our partners in NATO. So I think this is for all NATO member states. It is important to strengthen the NATO eastern flank, and NATO as a defense alliance. And I can also say that Russia is not provoked by strength. It is provoked by weakness. And if we are showing weakness, then of course it's invitation to Russia to go further. And that means the only answer is for deterrence of Russia, which is aggressive state. It is to strengthen our eastern, NATO's eastern flank, and that means mostly our states, 3Cs initiative states. And this is our main task now, to do it together with our partners in Europe, with, of course, transatlantic bonds are very, very important, and United States have already increased the presence in our region, and I think I can see that the strength of the NATO is a basis for security in Europe, not only in Latvia, not only in eastern part of Europe, but in whole Europe, and I would say the security of the Western world depends how strong NATO will be. And I am sure that the answer would be that we have this defense alliance which has a capacity to deter Russia, and this is a politics of peace.
President Karisa, some closing thoughts on the situation in Ukraine?
Well, yes, I mean, as far as Russia is concerned, Russia remains our neighbor. So they do move away. That means we have to deal with Russia also in future. But how to deal with Russia, it's difficult to say. First of all, we have to win this war in Ukraine, and eventually this war will be over at some point. And then we have to sit down how to have a connection with Russian Federation. And what one thing we probably don't want, that Russia is going to be completely isolated, because then this aggressions, starts again and starts again and starts again. So we have to find a way. We don't know the answer at the moment, but it can't go back to business as usual as it was in 2014.
President Duda, some closing thoughts on the situation in Ukraine and how it's seen from Poland?
It's terrible war. I've never seen something like that in my life. We visited Kiev more than a month ago. That was 14th of April. We had this visit of Kiev, four presidents, because President of Lithuania was also with us, and our hosts, they took us to Borodzianka and Irpień, and we saw the ruins and the remains of the battles between Ukrainian military forces, the defenders of Ukraine, and Russians. Still lying dead bodies, and believe me, this is something terrible. If I'm afraid that everyone who has seen something like that will never forget it. What can I say? I hope that Ukrainians will defeat Russians. I hope that they will liberate their country. And I hope that Ukraine will win this war, because this is very important, not only for Ukrainians, of course. For them it's most important, but this is also very important for us in our part of Europe, for my compatriots, for Polish people, because we know Russian. We fully understand what does it mean, Russian imperialism and Russian imperial ambitions, and as Lech Kaczynski said in Tbilisi in 2008 during the Russian invasion in Georgia. Today we have to stop Russian imperialism. We have to stop Russia, because I know, and it's easy it's easy to say if anyone knows our history, that today Georgia, tomorrow probably Ukraine, someday Baltic states, and maybe my country Poland. We remember that words very well, and that's why, in my opinion, this is one of the reasons that Polish people open their hearts, open their houses, their homes, and they take their Ukrainian neighbors to their families, and There is no need to build refugee camps in Poland during the situation when we have theoretically the biggest refugee disaster in our history, yes, because it has never happened before in our history that in practically 2 weeks about 2 million people came to our country, yes, and we had to accommodate them immediately to find the new life for them. So this is unimaginable situation, but we managed. We manage, and I'm very proud of my compatriots, of Polish people. I'm very proud of Poland. Of course, we need help, but because we are financing all the needs from our budget now, state budget. But we are absolutely sure that we have to help our Ukrainian neighbors, because we know what it means Russian invasion, because we know what it means Russian terror, because we know what it means Russian occupation, and we feel it very, very well that they fight not only for Ukraine. They fight for Europe, they fight for us, and we are ready to help them. So that's why we have refugees in Poland. That's why they are in our houses. That's why we sent to Ukraine our tanks, our guns and our ammunition This is obvious for us that we have to do that, and we have to organize help for Ukraine everywhere where we are. So that's why I appeal everywhere in the international environment that Ukraine needs help, and we have to help Ukrainians.
Well, thank you. I couldn't think of a better note to end this session on. So thank you to President Duda, to President Levitsa, and to President Karisa. It's been a fascinating session, quite a profound one, given the moment in history. We don't have time, sorry.
What we can do as ladies and as Polish international women, how can we help peace in the world? We will be more delighted to put our impact as well.
I think we have a hard stop at 6:45, I'm afraid, but maybe you can continue the conversation later. I'm sorry to know.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I have a brief technical announcement.
I will ask the presidents to come with me back into the green room, as well as the first row. I ask everyone else to please stand at your seats while we have this movement.